G'day, gang. I want to talk today about a topic that is yet again very near and dear to my heart. I want to talk about military characters. So I think people without military experience, or people who talk to people with military experience only, and that's their source, I think they fundamentally get this wrong so often. Bro. They fundamentally get this one wrong all the time. And I think there is this the propensity where these characters come off as having no personality. And I find that entirely frustrating because I think people outside the military seem to see these characters as so much more focused on their job than other people that it becomes their entire personality, or that they just don't have a personality. So I'm a former serving member of the Royal Australian Navy. And military people tend to have more personality than less personality. Particularly because it's a complicated profession. People get into the military for largely two reasons, in my experience. And this might just be an Australian thing, but I have talked to people from different parts of the world who seem to somewhat agree, at least somewhat agree so far, but I can only speak for my countrymen. But basically, you're a family of military people and it's just kind of tradition to do it, or you really don't have many other options. So it's a pretty complicated environment already, you can kind of pick up on, I'm sure. That definitely doesn't lend to having less personality. It definitely lends to having more, which again, in my experience, military people have way too much personality and way too many opinions. And I love that. I love that a lot. But a lot of non-military people don't love that. And then you see military characters in representation being these stoic figures or these quiet symbols. And it just really doesn't fit. Because even when we're on watch, we're not necessarily all that quiet. Like, I remember some of the stupidest comms when I was like, you have to say specific things when you're getting on shift. Basically, it's like, can you hear me? Are you clear? Am I clear? That sort of stuff. Pretty straightforward stuff. I'm not going to go over specific comms, obviously, but pretty standard expected stuff. And some of the weird and unhinged things that people say when you log on, because our extreme personalities tend to bubble over in moments of quiet. And I think that when you do have jobs where you have to be quiet, where you have to be in uniform, where you have to stand up straight, where you have to put yourself aside, it's like a rubber band. There's only so far you can pull it before it snaps. So when people are off shift, the most weird and unhinged things usually happen, and it can be an experience for non-military people. But I never see those sorts of things in military stuff in video games or in movies and TV. It's very uncommon that I actually see those sorts of things happen, because I think for the majority of time, it's not people who have been in the military writing military characters. So they come to a whole range of misconceptions because they weren't there. And when you write a subculture that you're not a part of, without having someone who's part of it standing over your shoulder or going over your notes or going over your script, you're going to get a disconnect. You're going to get, it's going to feel inauthentic. And I think one of my favorite examples is always Soldier from Overwatch. And this is going to be a really unpopular opinion. I'm sorry, but he has one of the most bland personalities I've ever seen in any character. His entire personality is talking about like military calls, and that's pretty much it. And he just says, that he's old. I've played a gratuitous amount of Overwatch, so I love the game. Don't get me wrong, but those sorts of misunderstandings of a character is just it's very weird. It's really weird. I think that they could have definitely used someone with experience who was talking over that, because even when you're yeah, he's technically in the field, but because the expectation is that these are during operations, but even still, personality comes out when you're in uniform. Like, even when you're in uniform, as I said, it definitely comes out when you're off uniform a lot more. So in Spawn, he would probably be saying really weird stuff as opposed to like directly when in combat. That makes sense. So I understand that there should be a separation, but there's no separation. Bro has no personality. And I think he's not isolated. There are so many military characters that are just nothing. They're just ice cubes. They're just absolute bland frozen water, and they have nothing to say for themselves. Like, some of the most fun things and the most weirdest things I've ever experienced have happened in the military. And I'm not going to say almost any of them, but for example, on something that is very, very lighthearted and silly and very specific to the Australian military, because I've told this to my American friends and they were a bit surprised. But one of our superiors came in just to say hello to us when we were out of uniform in our off time. And one of our, basically someone said sup to him, and he responded with sup and then his rank. So she said sup and then his rank. And that was the like that was the exchange that we get, because like in the American military, you don't speak to your superiors like they're your friends. And in Australia, it's very different. So you can already see that there's personality just in the way in which that you're greeting and being silly with each other in your off time when everything is completely calm and completely chill. Because we're still people. Just because we put on a uniform doesn't make us any different than anyone else. It doesn't, we're not like a superhuman breed of like different humans because we've gone through military training. There is this phrase where they say they break you and then they make you into something new, and that's bullshit. That's not how that works. You just go through training. That's only non-military people say those phrases, because it's an ignorant phrase of something that you don't understand. You probably shouldn't talk about something that you don't understand, because you make yourself look stupid. That's when it comes down to military characters, I think, in general. And again, a lot of the stuff I've shared today is completely tame, because I'm not sharing the untamed stuff. It goes from funny to non-funny very quickly, and particularly for people who aren't military. So it's a very complicated subculture, but it's personality enriched, not personality light. And I think that if you write a military character, that should be your takeaway, is that when you're in uniform, yes, we tend to be less personality intensive, but only with a tendency, because again, we do what we're supposed to do, but it's a high tension situation. It's a high tension job when shit hits the fan. Things can get very intense and scary very quickly. And even people with military training can snap, because we're still human. We still have the same flaws that other people have, except again, the reasons that we joined the military was because our family did. So already we're coming into the environment with preconceptions and with stories that we ourselves haven't yet confirmed. And we often think that we know more than we do when we don't, that wasn't me. I was the other one of, I didn't have anywhere else to go. So that was the desperate and you think you know more than you know is why people join the military. And again, those two groups have a lot of issues automatically going into it. And the military is the kind of job that it is a very, very complicated job. And if you don't understand the specific subculture, get someone to read your notes who does understand. Get a military person to read over your notes, because bland military characters need to stop existing. It is just so completely inauthentic, and any military person would be pretty tired by seeing it. But I mean, I've heard numerous stories from military people from different places in the world. particularly UK and the US. Definitely the Australian ones are more extreme, but we're an extreme culture, what can I say? But yeah, have you been in the military, and do you think that military characters overall are represented particularly bland, or do you disagree? Do you have military friends and see them as being personality intense too? Military friends you know, not military friends in passing, please. I want comments from people with experience on this one. I'm very, very interested to see if this is a topic in which that people immediately agree with. Also, you don't... I have to calm myself down because it irritates me. You dismiss and then you are dismissed. You don't say dismissed. You say dismiss, okay? Comment down below, please. I really want to hear what you all think about this one. And if you like this topic, give me one of these. A thumbs up. That's a thumbs up. It'll really help. And if you want me on the platform, please sub. I can't articulate how much it helps. Thanks for listening. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.